Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You are welcome to our second discussion program on matters relating to personal finance and our financial well-being. This is one of the series that the business school is putting together as a way of educating many of our followers and many of our past students who have the desire to learn, have the desire to also share some common experiences in the area of personal financial management and in their attempt to build wealth. Last week, if you join us, we had a discussion on fintech, and they are all part of the build-up to our 44th Management Week celebration. As a business school, we have the responsibility to lead the discussion and knowledge in the area of management. And the University of Ghana Business School has been successful in doing this for the past 45 or so years that it has been in existence. Today, we are glad to have wonderful guest speakers who have worked in industry and they have been very successful in their respective roles that they've played in the area of finance, in the area of wealth management, and in the area of reporting or accountancy. And they are here to lead us and to educate us on one important aspect of our financial management, which has got to do with managing shock and unexpected happenings that has financial consequence on us, even as we build wealth and we try to manage our wealth. You are once again welcome. My name is Benjamin Amwa. I work as a lecturer and a researcher in the Department of Finance, and I am your host this evening. Today we have wonderful speakers, and I'd like to introduce them. Two ladies and a wonderful gentleman. The first is one good friend of the University of Ghana Business School. She is a past student of the University of Ghana. She read economics, and then after that, she traveled to the UK to read financial economics. She currently works as the head of client experience at Stanbic Investment Services. And she has accepted the responsibility and the role to join us this evening as a guest speaker to educate us and also to encourage us to build our wealth and some of the things that we need to look out for as we build our wealth into the future. She goes by the name Miriam Maku Emisa. Miriam, you are welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Doc.
The next person that we have is an in-house person. He is a senior lecturer in the area of finance and investment. He has a lot of experience in some of this subject matter, and he gladly accepted to join us this evening to also help us to understand some areas that we think is important when it comes to financial resilience and building financial independence. He's a good friend, and for many of our students who have joined us this evening, you may have sat in his class or you may have encountered him. He goes by the name Dr. Godfred Amewu. Doc, you are welcome. Doc, if you can unmute, you are welcome. Okay, we'll go on. Then the third person, she is a very passionate individual, one who is always ready to support and to help and to lead and to mold characters and to encourage the young ones to reach and break the glass ceiling. She has a lot of experience both in the corporate world, locally, and internationally. She has accepted this evening to join us, and she goes by the name Na Kujo, or Lady Na Kujo. She is a chartered accountant and an enterprise risk management specialist. Now, you are welcome to this evening's program.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I think we are steady now and ready. Godfred, can we hear a hi from you so we know that we can hear you and can also hear us as we are about to start the program? Godfred, a hi from you will help us. Okay, I guess our producer, Mr. Boniface, will try to reach Godfred and then kindly inform him that no, we are waiting for his response so that we are sure that he can hear us and then we can start a discussion. Mr. Producer Boniface, can you reach out to Godfred so that you are double sure that he can hear us so we kickstart the program?
Yes, please.
Our guests, you are welcome. All of you, we are happy and excited to have our audience in the house. Last week was wonderful. We had so much to learn and so much to talk about in the area of financial technology. Today, we are here to talk about financial resilience, and I won't take much of your time, so go straight zoom into the discussion. Okay, so many of us desire to be financially independent. Many of us have the dream to live lives where we can spend, where we can, have what we want to have, in addition to our needs. But you see, for many of us, it is said that this will be a dream that we will not achieve. Is it because we don't have the needed skill? Is it because we are expecting too much? Or it is a case that there is a way out there that we can adopt, or a lifestyle that we can adopt, or some techniques that we can apply in our financial decision making that will help us to achieve financial independence. The truth, again, we have been told is that life is made up of ups and downs. Life is made up of shocks. So should we be faced with or be presented with a shock, how do we navigate the path? Many of us may have experiences where we had in mind to do something financially. We set aside money only for something that we never planned to hit us. For some of us, we're fortunate to navigate around it. For others, having gone through that shock meant that all the plans we had to change. That is what we call shock. That is what brings to the fore financial resilience. So we need to understand. Godfred, what is financial independence? What is financial independence? And can we as individuals at all in our dream ever attain financial independence? Godfred.
All right. Thank you, Doc, and thanks to your listeners. So, financial independence, if you can hear me, as
We
the
can,
word,
yeah.
yes, as the word sounds, you are financially independent in the sense that your needs, at least your basic needs, you have enough to be able to meet your needs as they flow in. So if you're able to meet your needs and also the needs of the very people around you, then without any excessive support from elsewhere, then we can say that, yeah, you are financially independent. And the issue of financial independence is very, very important because if you don't plan and get yourself well structured enough to be financially independent, what it means is that you become dependent on people, or you become dependent on something else, a third party or a second party. And when that happens, once you become dependent on somebody else, you therefore becomes like a slave, so to say, and you are unable to take decisions on your own. You're unable to do the very things that you want to do. You're unable to enjoy life the way you want it because your life is being manipulated by somebody else. So that is why the issue of financial independence is very, very important.
Thank you very much, Miriam. And then if you want to add, or you have something in mind that you think you can add up, the floor is still open. You can add to it. As Godfred has informed us that, hey, once you can meet your needs and you don't have anybody preventing you from, spending, then you are financially, or you're on the path of becoming financially independent.
Okay, so
Okay, I would like to add a few words and thank.
I guess now we are losing you. We are losing you. I think, I guess it's your connection. So, uh, producer, if you can check for us, I think we are losing now. So if you can check for us to know what the technical problem is. Okay, fine. As producer resolves that, Miriam.
okay, so the little I just wanted to add up. So I heard Godfred mention something about being a slave if you're not
Thank you for this
financially
opportunity.
independent. And it just brought to mind the fact that another thing you can recognize about those who are not financially independent is that even if they are working,
Right?
they typically are working for others, because then every money that comes in
I'd like to add at this
goes
point.
out
Thank you.
to pay someone else. So assuming I get my salary and before it hits my account, I'm sort of disbursing it to everybody. I'm paying everybody out and there's nothing left for me. It's more like you're working for others. So that's just the little I wanted to add to his submission. Thank you.
Yeah. So Miriam is saying that if at each point in time you have responsibilities to meet and you don't have anything like freedom, you don't have anything like free cash available, but each money that comes must be used to meet an obligation, and you are, she says something that is very instructive, you are working for someone, then the reality is that you are not financially independent. Ladina, we lost you because of your network, so you can try again if you can, so we can hear you. So we lost you, you went off and then you came back at a point in time. So when I add what Godfrey said and what Miriam said, it is coming out clear that financial independence in this case is where you have amassed or you have had enough so that you can live all by yourself, and in plain language, even refusing to work, and you still have enough cash flow to live on. How will you be able to do this? You can only do this if you have acquired enough cash generating assets. Assets that will be generating cash for you when you are even sleeping. When you are even sleeping and you have assets generating cash for you, then you can truly say that you are financially independent. Miriam said something that is instructive. She said, "What if you have to work every day to survive? You are never financially independent." Indirectly, what he's trying to say is that all of us who are working and we have to work before we can make our ends meet, we are not financially independent. What she's trying to say is that the very day you don't go to work, you will not have money to live. But we are saying you have acquired enough and you can choose to work. Still have generating assets, churning. And we need to be looking at we can acquire enough cash generating assets so we can sleep and still be making money. What should one do? What should we do to be financially independent in this case? What should we do? Godfred, what should I do if I come to you? What should I do for me to be financially independent?
Thank you, Doc. So as the discussion advances, it's obviously clear what what financial independence is. And for you to be financially independent, there are some few things that must show, as you rightly said. What your inflows or whatever you have should be enough to meet at least your basic needs. Of course, man is unsatiable. In as much as you keep having funds coming in, you develop taste for certain foreign stuff. So not meeting all the needs you want, but at least your basic needs. So for you to be financially independent, at least you have enough to be able to meet your needs. All right. You should also be able to support others who possibly depend on you, because they become part and parcel of your system. So you must also be able to meet their needs as well. All right. So, and that must be seen clearly in your cash flows. If indeed, as Miriam said, if you keep working and your funds are not able to meet your need, you are not financially independent. You must also be looking at doing other stuff alongside your traditional work. So if you are a banker and the funds you have are not enough to meet your need, you must consider looking at other options. Could it be possible that you be a banker and still be a lecturer so that you have other inflows to supplement what you get from the bank? You could also be looking at other options of planning. Maybe what you're having from the bank is enough, actually, but you are not properly planning, you are not budgeting. So that can create a problem. Now, you also have being financially literate is very, very important in being financially independent. In a sense that if you know the kind of assets to invest in, you know what happens on the money market, you know what happens if you have to save with the bank, will actually inform you to do the right investment and get the right returns. Okay, so those are the issues. Those are some of the few issues when you want to look at financial independence. I know there are quite a lot, but I'll leave the rest to the other panelists to also make their contributions. So thank you, Doc.
Yeah. Okay. So Miriam Ona, Godfred said, you need to plan, have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you are indirectly planning to fail. Make sure you have a budget, and in that budget, identify your expenditure and then your income. Within that same budget, government is trying to say that we'll be able to, ahead of time, know our shortfalls in terms of the deficits and then the surpluses ahead of time. So we can plan to bridge the gap if we have anything like a deficit. And then if we have a surplus way ahead of time, we'll be able to know where to invest them. He also ended by saying that in the quest to be financially independent, we should not overlook or underestimate knowledge. And this knowledge, he identified it in the area of financial literacy. It says that we should pursue financial literacy so we know what instruments exist out there and how we can use this financial instrument to build financial wealth as we work on becoming financially independent. Miriam Ona, anything more you want to add to what Godfred has said?
I think Godfred was quite extensive in his submission, and you have also added on. So I'll just flesh it out a bit more. I have a lot of people who come to me, and in most of my presentations, I find that people will say that the money I'm even earning is not enough. How do I save and invest in the first place? And the key is to know what you are bringing in so that you would know how to spend it. When you realize that, you can make better and much more informed decisions. So if I know that at the end of the month, all that comes in, whether I have a Momo business on the side or I'm doing plantain chips on the side before my 8 to 5 salary comes in, every income that comes in is not supporting the expenses I have, then it means that I have to do extra work. And like Godfred was saying, in that extra, if I don't have any particular skill that I can harness to make it bring me money, then I need to put my money to work. And putting my money to work is basically investing my money so that whilst I am doing what I'm doing and earning money, this money is also earning income for me at the end of the day. And therefore, it's also important that I know where I'm going to put my money. And so, again, what he said comes to bear in terms of being financially literate. And by the fact that you are even here on this call, you are educating yourself. So, it doesn't mean you have to go and sit and take a book on financial literacy and read it. Like, where do I start from? You just need to start from listening to such webinars and conversations about money and be inquisitive and ask questions so that you are more literate to know where to put the money, because the problem comes in for most people when they put the money where they don't know or even understand how the solution works for them. If I'm looking to put money in the short term for a short term need, I go and put it in a long term investment. I have just shot myself in the foot because I probably will lose some of the money that I'm protecting so much to work for me, and then I don't get what I need at the end of the day. So for financial independence, you need to start always with a budget. That gives you the focus to have a goal. And then that goal will let you know where to put your energies to make more from it, whether to get a new skill, a new business, or the side to save or invest. So that's the little I want to add to it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ledina, uh, what is financial resilience in this case? What is financial resilience, and what are some examples of events that will test our financial resilience? Producer, if you can reach out to Ledina for us, I guess network is giving a problem. So I was, trying to ask about financial resilience. So what is financial resilience in all this? What is financial resilience, and what are some of the things that can happen that will bring to bear or test our financial resilience? Godfred.
Thanks, Ben. Um, Financial resilience, as you've mentioned yourself earlier, is when you there are some few shocks that your cash flows are exposed to. Does that shake you enough, or in other there are some shocks in the system, does that make you financially independent? So if a shock in the system suddenly makes you financially independent from the definitions we've had, then that means that you are not financially resilient. So financial resilience basically means your ability to withstand any shock, okay? Your finances ability to withstand any shock in the system. So that shock can be coming from either internal or external sources. Let me look at it as external. For instance, COVID could be a shock. So the insurgence of COVID, is it enough to make you feel financially unstable? If that is the case, then you're not financially resilient. Economic crisis, like let's say the banking crisis we've experienced in the past, if that perturbs your financial position, then you are not financially resilient. You could also have some kind of internal issues, could be family. So if some kind of sudden illness within your family member within your family, you are not able to meet those financial obligations, then that is spelling the fact that you are not financial resilient. So financial resilience, your ability in short to withstand any shock that hits your books. Doc, thank you very much.
Thank you, Godfred. Thank you, Godfred. So basically, Godfred said, no, you have your plan, you are budgeted, you have your savings, you have your investment, and you are working towards a particular financial goal. Then all of a sudden, you are hit by a funeral ritual that you have to go through, and the whole family is looking up to you. At that point in time, have you been able to build enough emergency funds so that you can go through that funeral expense without jeopardizing your financial plan that you have set for yourself? Without jeopardizing means that without holding on your investment, without moving off your investment for that 2 or 3 months, without putting on hold your insurance premium for that insurance product that you have, without going to the school to go and beg your children's school headmaster that give me some time for me to pay the school fees. If you are not able to manage that unexpected funeral expense, that unexpected, like Godfred said, a sudden sickness, or that unexpected job loss, then your finances or your financial plan is not resilient. What we are trying to put across is that events of life, the way they hit us, the way they come at us, we don't know. But we should, in our financial planning, build enough shocks, build enough buffers, or enough emergency fund, so that when these events take place, we are able to move on as if nothing has happened. Not because we don't feel it, we feel it, but it doesn't put into jeopardy our financial plan. For many of us, if our employers even delay our salary by a month, there will be trouble. What it means is that we are not financially resilient. We need to build enough emergency fund so we can move on as if nothing has happened. If we can do this for a period of 6 months, because the belief is that within 6 months, we'll be able to put ourselves together. If it is job, we can get a job. If it is some monies that we need to top up, within 6 months, we'll be able to do it. If you cannot build enough emergency fund for 6 months, the truth that we are being told this evening is that you are not financially resilient. Any small shock will put you off track. And once it puts you off track, for many individuals, they are not able to get themselves back on track before that shock took place. And that puts their personal plan in jeopardy. Once that happens, you are most likely not going to be financially independent. Miriam, any addition?
Okay, so I think most of it has been submitted, and what I'll just add to it is also, so you mentioned being able to withstand the shock, but the other part of it also is being able to recover from the shock. And sometimes, like you said, emergencies are normally unplanned, and you cannot plan away everything by putting all that you need in place. So you need to be able to adjust to recover quickly. A lot of times, people who are used to a certain lifestyle are not able to adapt and recover in cases where they are hit. I mean, one aside the COVID, there's also a recent event that happened in 2022, which was the the debt exchange, where government was not able to meet their obligations for people that had invested in bonds. And you had people that, for instance, if they bought the euro bond, they have kids in school and they are paying fees in dollars, and they normally use the coupon payment to pay for their ward's school fees. And then all of a sudden, it's been how many years now? Almost 2 years, and these coupons are not being paid. You get into such a situation. How do you recover? How do you adapt? And mentally it's draining. So you need to be able to recover quickly. And that recovery comes from both the mindset and the plans that you have put in place. So, in addition to everything that has already been said, this is what I would want to add on.
Thank you. Now, from your enterprise risk management perspective, as a risk management expert, what will you say in addition to all that we've said so far? Now,
Yes, thank you, Doc. From a risk standpoint, I think I would like to say I would beg to differ a little bit when it comes to planning for emergencies, because most of the times we operate from the standpoint of hindsight. But from a risk standpoint, it's important that we begin to shift. And instead of operating from hindsight, we operate with foresight. So, though you don't wish for ill and certain unexpected life shocks to happen to you, if you are risk minded, then you actually factor that into your planning and do your what if analysis. So when you are building your emergency funds, you don't do it from a point of luxury. I say luxury because we tend to build our emergency funds based on just the basic living expenses that we think we will survive by. We don't
yeah, now, sorry, you go on. I'll give you the opportunity to go on. But are you saying that when we are planning, we should plan for evil too? At least we should have in mind that, something negative can happen to us in our plan?
yes.
Wow.
It's
Wow. Okay, go on. Yeah.
okay. Yeah, it's the best place to be because you independently decide that you are going to stress test your life and what lies ahead of you. So you don't have brakes in a car just for the sake of it. It's because you think that something could happen and I need to apply the brakes. So you might be very spiritual, you might be very religious, but that is why you don't want to perish because you lack knowledge, but because you think that these things are possibilities, despite the level of your faith in terms of spirituality, you still go ahead and use the knowledge that you have to plan for these. So others would recommend 6 months, but I would recommend between 6 months to a year. Because,
Wow.
for instance, research has shown that for certain levels of career positions, you can't be replaced, or you can't get a new job in 6 months. The recruitment process takes a long time. People go on redundancy packages, and for 2 years they are still sitting at home. So if you budget your emergencies based on the ideal scenario of 6 months, you are in for some trouble. It's better to rather extend it to a year, just in case the 6 months, which is the ideal state, doesn't work for you. The other thing is that when you are able to push it beyond the 6 months, then you are taking into consideration other factors that are beyond you, including inflationary pressures, exchange rate differences. So if you built it for a year, even if the economy shocks you in a way that you can't control, you would have given yourself an additional 6 months of buffer. And I know people who actually have emergency funding for 2 years, including all the things that you can think of. The other thing that
Wow, that's
yes,
interesting.
and then the final thing I would say before we move on to the next set of conversation points is the fact that it's important that we also think of building resilient careers. If you are in a career space where you can't be easily replaced, then you realize that on the market all the time, or most of the time, you are being poached. That way you will not likely even sit at home for more than a month. So it's good to have a job, but when you are thinking of being resilient, can we begin to think of careers that are resilient and not just a job? So if your career has been built from that standpoint, then, for lack of a better word, you can just metamorphose from one job to another, because you have the skill set and the experience that you need to be able to just switch from one job to another. Thank you.
Yeah, interesting point, and I think we will hold you here for you to explain. So, what are some of the resilient jobs? We have already established that when it comes to life and shocks, you can't do anything about it. So, from the strategic point of view, you are saying that let us budget, and in our budget, minimum 6 months, we should have reserves for minimum 6 months, so we can navigate our path and navigate it easily without a lot of stress. But in doing this, one of the strategies is to have resilient jobs. Look, I want to have a resilient job, because if indeed shocks can come in at any time, then if my job is resilient, I'm indirectly protected. If you are talking about resilient careers, on top of your head, can you mention some of these jobs and career paths for us, so that if you are not taught through it, we can put in place strategies to pursue such paths, even as we build financial resilience?
Thank you, Doc. I would start from, this would depend on which career you are in at the moment. So, for instance, if you find yourself in a job that you entered at, let's say, stage X and level X, and you have stayed at that level for 3 years to 5 years, the system itself may push you in terms of promotion, but you haven't added value to yourself. Your skill set still remains the same, apart from what your employer may have given you. Um, I'm into risk management. The skill set and the experience and the qualifications that I started with 10 years ago is not the same as I have now. If the job and the career you have chosen is now demanding that you think sustainability, you think about climate, and you would want to still stay in your 5, 10 years ago way of silo-minded way of managing risk, then the ship has sailed and you are still there. Now we are talking of artificial intelligence. What have you done in terms of where you are now, the changes that would happen to you and the career that you find yourself because of the advent of AI? If you don't think out of the box and to think of what are the skill sets that are needed, and begin to prepare yourself ahead of the game, then you realize that you will be recycled for the negative. So it will vary, but I would say that just have a reality check of where you are. Look at the industry, look at where you started from, and look at where the career is moving towards. If you have mentors and coaches, they would also be able to guide you so that you add value to yourself, not just by maybe going to do the standard pathway in terms of going for another master's program, but adding the value that industry is looking for, adding the skill set that will make you fit in, so that even if there is a reorganization in your department, it's so difficult that you'll be thought of. Your name will not even appear, and it's because over the time you have thought about the possibility of being reorganized, being made redundant, and therefore you have added skills and value to yourself in such a way that your employer finds you indispensable.
Thank you very much. These are valuable contributions, so we appreciate it. Our listeners, if you have questions, please jot them down. Very soon, we give you the opportunity to come up with your questions, and we believe that our guest speakers will attend to the questions that you have. We've heard that personally you have to develop yourself if you want to be financially resilient and relevant to your organization. Because one thing organization is that when they come to lay people off, organizations do not joke with it because they look at their numbers, look at the bottom line, and declare. So if we want to maintain our job and be relevant to our jobs, let's add value to ourselves. Let's look for industry relevant skill sets. How do we do it? We need to look at the path or the stage of the industry and what skill sets are relevant to the industry. And let us, aside what our employers are providing by way of development, invest in ourselves. What we are being told this evening is that invest, spend money on yourself, develop yourself so that you become relevant. You will be the one who will be, dictating the pace instead of your employer dictating the pace for you. It is very relevant. If you don't do this, then in no time will be of no use to our employers. Once you're of no use, it will affect our finances, and in no time, we realize that we are not as robust and as strong as we thought we were when it comes to our finances. Financial resilience is very, very important, and we need to work on it. Okay, so Miriam, what role does savings play in financial resilience? What at all do I benefit from in the area of financial resilience if I save money regularly? And how will it help me to navigate the path of difficulty?
So in terms of savings, um, and financial resilience, I mean, if you have savings, is just putting money aside, keeping money on the side. And so if you have money on the side, then when something happens or there's a shock that hits you without you knowing, you can fall on that savings. But more importantly for me, whilst you are gathering that money, what are you doing with it? Because you can put money aside. Remember, I said savings is just putting money aside. So it can be in a savings account, it can be in a safe in your house, it can be in a poly tank in your house. That's just saving, just putting money aside. But to be able to have value for that money, because if you put money aside today, even if it's 10,000 Ghana cedis, and you put aside at the beginning of the year, if you were to convert it into dollars, it was a CD to what, about 12. Now it's about 15 or more. You have lost value for it if you were just saving it in a safe somewhere. So you need to be able to understand what to put the money to use, what to do with the money so that the value is stored, and when you need it, at the time you need it, it can still do something for you. So in terms of savings and then financial resilience, it's important that whatever you're putting aside, you are storing the value as well, so that it's beneficial for you when that unforeseen event happens and you need to call on it.
Thank you. So now we know what the shocks are. The shocks can be many. You can be laid off from your job. It is true, it's a shock. Your employer can tell you that this particular month, because our cash flows are not good, we'll delay payment. Will you be able to survive? It's a shock. Are you financially resilient? You can have a dependent who may be seriously sick and will need emergency treatment. Do you have the needed buffer to manage that? It is raining. It has raining heavily. We've got television. We see individuals who have had their cars flooded, or even their homes flooded. These are shocks that can affect anyone. The question is, how will you be able to manage it? If you should be the one who is at the losing end, it is only when we are financially resilient that we can, manage some of these unforeseen things that happen to us when we don't, plan for such things. Godfred, how can we protect ourselves, and how can I protect myself financially during uncertain times?
So, Ben, Doc, if I understand your question well, what are some of the things I'll need to do to be able to stand the shocks when they come? So,
Absolutely.
I'll definitely want to discuss this within the context of the key component of the financial resilience. So, as Miriam rightly said, savings is one of the key component that you might want to look at. I won't talk much about that. We spoke about your income diversification as one of the options of components that we looked at. We also talked about the financial planning and budgeting. Then there are some few other ones that I want to add in terms of what you need to do to be financially resilient. In other words, the component. Apart from the financial literacy that we've mentioned earlier, I heard Ben talk about investing in assets. So investing in assets is obviously one of the ways you can build your financial resilience. In fact, if you go to bank only to deposit your money, you can rest assured that what even the bank will give you as interest will not be enough to take care of your inflation issues. So you need to deliberately have a strategy to invest in assets. Next, if you don't have a solid access to credit, so Ben, one of the issues when it comes to financial resilience is access to credit. Obviously, if you are keeping too much of liquid asset, you are not doing reasonable investment. You need to invest in long term to be able to have high returns. But if you have access to credit, you walk to your bank, EcoBank, I need 200,000. Within the next 2 minutes, it hits your account. You are resilient. You can meet any shock at all. So access to credit is very, very key. So you don't take for granted the things that you need to do to build a good credit with your bankers is very, very important. We should also lose sight of the fact that building social capital is equally important in this whole game of financial resilience. Social capital in the sense that you have strong networks that will support you, including your family, your friends. So right now, I know if I have any issue that I have to manage with regards to risk, I know who to talk to because there's a risk expert on the panel that I'm networking with. Somebody who is working in the banking industry, and Miriam is there that I need to talk to. Building social capital is very, very important. They can sack you from job, but your friends, your networks, will put themselves together. You'll still be driving your V8 and nobody will know that you've been hit by any shock. Next, there's your psychological or your emotional well-being is very key in this whole game of financial resilience. If you're not psychologically solid, In fact, as soon as you are hit by the smallest shock, your everything shuts down. Once your everything shuts down, you're unable to take rational investment decisions. And anything at all you say, anything at all you do, you get it wrong. So psychological and emotional stability is very key in financial resilience. And Doc, if you excuse me, I can also mention that doing regular financial health check is very important, because you can't draw a financial goal, prepare a budget, and think that, oh, this is how I do it, and therefore run that budget and that financial goal for life. You need to review whatever goals you have, review the nature of your financial budget, review the plans, change some components within your budget as time goes on. When you do that, then you are actually preparing and putting yourself in a very solid position to be financially resilient. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you very much. Lady Na, anything to add?
Yes, Doc. I would like to add a few points. But let me start with the point on building social capital that was just spoken about
Go
by
for it.
Godfrey.
Yeah.
Yeah. When we are building social capital, it's important that we are intentional about it. I think most of the times people build social capital, but it's more like who they get the chance to meet. That's also fine. But I'm referring to the intentionality about who you need to know. That is one. And then two, who needs to know you? Because you can know someone and call them by name. But when you call them, they will not respond. Or even if they respond, they are wondering where the connection is coming from. So we need to be very intentional to say, I want to build connections with XYZ. Where can I find them? How do I go about it? Who can lead me? Who can refer me? Who can do the introduction? Okay, so that is one. Then, in terms of being or becoming resilient, I would want to recommend the use of insurance. Some of the things that comes to us in terms of a financial burden can be outsourced, if I can use that word loosely. If you take a home and content and property insurance, in the event of touchwood, fire, and all the situations of nature that can impact you, including theft, you can fall on your insurance policy. If you take a motor vehicle and it's a comprehensive insurance, when there is an issue, the full financial burden will not be on you. Then, when we talk about insurance, we also need to think about health insurance. If you happen to have a good employer who has the policy that gives you a wider coverage, then you are sorted. But if you happen to be on the regular national health insurance or a private policy, but the coverage is very limited, then it's important for you to be thinking of having that additional coverage that will help you in times of need. The final thing that I would say when it comes to using insurance as a cover, which a lot of people do, is having a life policy. And here, much as I recommend that highly, from a risk standpoint, I would say it also comes with a lot of risk to you, the person who is taking the cover. So when you have a life insurance policy, it should come with all the guidance and zipping of your lips as much as possible and making sure that it's only those who need to know in terms of your trusted lawyers or those who will be the executors of your estates. Because from a rate standpoint, a lot of people have also had to kick the bucket earlier than it was intended. And this is because the beneficiaries of the life policy felt that they had the motivation or the inducement to make sure that this person gets off the way, so that I can inherit whatever funds are available under the life policy. So much as it's a good way to build resilience, just be mindful that you watch your back and cover yourself, so that you don't intend well for people who would end up shortchanging you. Thank you.
That's interesting. Okay, thank you very much. I will open the floor now to our, listeners. If you have any question or mind or contribution, I guess it's the right time for us to invite you to come in. You've heard our guest. There's something in your mind you want clarified, just notify us. I'll give you the opportunity to tell us what is on your mind or your concern. We are ready for you, our listeners. Kindly show your hand. There's a reaction icon. Show your hand. If you have a question, if you have a contribution, any comment, this is, a school platform. So don't be so worried. It's not an examination time. Nobody will mark you down. Once your consent comes, definitely our guest will respond to it. So we are ready. You can also type if you feel like typing instead of, voicing out to us. Miriam,
So I since no one is talking, I wanted to add on that in terms of building
that's fine. Yeah, go on.
financial resilience, another thing that I find important also is empowering those that you support. So a lot of times for those who are financially sound within the family context, because of our culture, we take care of a lot of people. So there's the nieces, the nephews, your siblings, your parents may be aged, so you may have to do it. But for the younger people that we support, and it looks like every month they come and they ask you, it is important that we teach them to fish as well, so we empower them. You never know, at the time that shock hits you, they will be the ones to support you. If it even if it's your spouse, it is important that if she's at home, a housewife, you can empower her as well to start doing something that generates income. Remember, when my sister was done with school, even though she had done her degree and masters, it was difficult getting a job. So she had a passion to start an ice kinky business, and I supported her to start. That way, it's not every month she comes to me to collect money or say that I need this. The basic things that she needs, she'll be able to do it. So in building financial resilience as well, let's consider empowering those that we support, so that when that shock comes, those people can even support us as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I get that is one other wonderful one. Can you imagine you are running to someone and the person actually had the mind to come to you when you are in trouble? You can imagine how awkward and how disappointing such a situation will be. So let's, work on ourselves, and let's also make sure that those who depend on us, we also build them up. For one day, they will be the very individuals who will come in to support us when we are going through difficulties. Okay, so our last one of question. Godfred, your final words, what is your advice to us when it comes to this aspect of our lives, financial resilience, building financial resilience, and in our attempt to be financially independent? What is your general advice to us?
Doug, in summary, anyone who fails to take issues of financial independence or financial resilience very important will end up actually, excuse me to use the word, possibly smiling at the wrong side of the mouth. In fact, financial independence or resilience has a lot to do on your longevity. If you fail to take financial planning or financial resilience or independence very important. What it means is that you're going to create unnecessary stress for yourself going into your old age. And what obviously that means is that you're going to take in too much of pressure that you can bear, and that can drive you to your grave as fast as you do not expect. So the essence of life is, apart from serving God in the way that we have to, you also want to live a life well fulfilled. You don't want to be a burden on anyone. And it is very important that you do the very things that will put you in a position to enjoy life, especially going into old age. And one of the most important things you must look at is the issue of financial independence or financial resilience. And when you do that, we can all rest assured that at the core of our age or at the ending of our life on earth, we will be so fulfilled because we'll have enough to take care of ourselves without depending on anybody to say certain things to us that will hurt us within and that will sign off our death sentence with speed. So, Doc, thanks so much for the opportunity. But this is something that we can't take it for granted, and it's very, very important that we pay attention to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Your final concluding words. What is your advice for us?
Okay. I wanted to if you've already been hit by the shock, and so you're trying to get up, what I would like to tell you is that start small. It doesn't really matter how much you're starting with, but that you actually start. So if you're still trying to get on your feet after you've been hit, start. You find investments around that you can use 20 cedis, or you can find like-minded people and form a group that you can put some savings together and then later decide on investment options. If you are, or you haven't been hit and you are at that level where money comes in and then everything goes out, it's about time you form or you put in place a budget that will help you determine the things that you can cut out so that you will live a life, or your lifestyle will be according to the income that you earn, and then be able to make provision to save. It is very important that you save. If you are independent and you have enough, you have already started saving, then it's important, like now submitted, that you upskill, that you become relevant, and that you continue to educate yourself in terms of investment options that are available. One thing that this debt exchange and COVID and everything has taught us is the importance of diversification when it comes to investment. It's become so real, what they say, do not put all your eggs in one basket. So, and you first need to understand what you are diversifying to be able to even diversify in the first place. Diversification can be very simple, but if it's complicated, then you really do not understand it. So find someone that can help you and diversify what you already have. I see, Doc, that there's a comment, a last minute comment that came in. So maybe you would want to pick that up.
Yes, yes. Let me read it. Yes, this is coming from Gerard Okan. Gerard says that, you know, look, it says that I'm working and I'm receiving 4,500 CDs a month. He's living at Medina and he's paying 450 Ghana CDs a month. He's a committed Christian, so he pays tithes and then he gives offering. How will he be able to manage his resources so that he will be able to put some aside so that when these shocks come, he will navigate successfully, rebound, and then move on? That is a concern of Gerard.
Would you want me to attempt that, or you? Hello, Doc.
Please, you can go home.
Okay.
You can
All right.
attend.
So it's important that you, I think you've even identified some of the expenses that you have. What you need to start doing is identify all the expenses. Write down everything, the tithes, the offerings, the rent, the transportation, the food, etc. And then you, it's good that you also know you have 4,500 coming in. Once you identify the expenses and then the income, you realize that okay, this is what I can cut and this is what I can keep. For all you know, you can find someone that is closer to your workplace that you can pair up with in terms of rent, so you don't have to pay that 450. But most importantly, you need to, once you are able to do the budget, then you are also able to determine what you can cut, what you can downsize, what you can take out to make room for that savings that you need to do. Thank you, Doc.
Now, any advice to Gerald?
Yes, before I give my last words, I would say that, Gerald, whilst the current income is not taking you home, if I can say that, can you also look at building other streams of income? What can you do with the time that you have over weekends? What can you do with the time that you have after work? Can you blog? Can you vlog? Can you create content? If you can increase your revenue streams, not from the traditional source, but from other passive sources, then it will help you to save and to build the independence and resilience that we are looking at. Miriam, I see a thumbs up.
Yeah, your final question, your final, advice to
Okay.
us.
Okay. Thank you, Doc. Like I said from the beginning, financial independence is a journey, and the final outcome or your destination should be seen as being very personal. So it's important for us to have a reality check and not attempt to be like the Joneses or compare ourselves to other people. That is one. The second point is that you need to first of all also identify where you are in the journey so that you don't stress yourself unduly, because today you might be dependent and it's just because of the stage of life you find yourself in. But with that understanding, you should be working towards where you become a solvent, you start earning income, and then you become stable, and then you move towards your freedom and then your independence. So don't rush, but have a long term view of creating this financial independence that we are speaking about, and take the baby steps that will take you to that destination, and avoid comparison to others whose life path may be different from yours. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you very much, our guests. We've learned a lot. The truth is that financial independence is very possible, where we have built enough nest egg that we can even stop working. When we sleep, our cash generating assets will be working for us and we'll have something to live on. Although this is possible, you should not forget that there will be shocks on the way. What are some of the shocks? A dependent of yours can fall seriously sick. Your wife or your husband may end up losing his or her job. Your employer may even for 2 or 3 months may not be able to pay you. These are shocks. There can be a very large, huge expenditure item that will hit you. The point is, will you be able to manage that point of difficulty and still have your finances in order? If you cannot, you are not financially resilient. We have been told by now, our risk expert, that you should be looking at 1 year of being able to stand by yourself and by on your own in terms of managing your financial resources. That is if there is no income coming in. If you are financially resilient. Miriam also told us that no, we should think about budgeting. We should look at our cash flows. We should think about which investments exist out there that we can invest our excess in so that we can maintain the real value of our investment. Just about savings. Make sure that the real value of the investment is maintained so that in time of difficulty, when you fall on that savings, you will be able to manage your way around. Godfred has been telling us this evening that let us plan, let's acquire knowledge, and let's make use of this knowledge. So long as we do this, we are on the path of being financially resilient. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. It has been a wonderful learning time. Thank you, Dr. Godfred Amewu, Senior Lecturer, Department of Finance, University of Ghana Business School. Miriam Akwemisa, who happens to be the head of Client Service, Stanley Investment. We are grateful. And then Lady Na Kujo, our enterprise risk specialist and chartered accountant. We say we are so grateful to you. This program is part of our effort to herald the 44th Management Week celebration. We start from next week, Monday, all the way through Sunday. Please, you are invited to join us. Invite your friends to join us, even as we celebrate the University of Ghana Business School 44th Management Week. Thank you very much. God willing, next week we'll meet again. Thank you for your time and have a good night. My name has been and is Benjamin Amwa, and I am a lecturer at the Department of Finance, University of Ghana Business School. Mr. Boniface Amenin has been our producer for today. I will say, Boniface, we thank you very much. Good night and see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye, Doc, and thank you so much too, and have a nice evening.